Welcome to the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast, where each short episode we talk about the strategies, experiences, and the tools to help you launch, grow, and scale your land business. Learn how to find freedom within your own business, find out ways to build consistency in your processes, and hear how other everyday land investors are winning so you can get to the next step closer to building your dream life through your land business. And I'm your host of the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast by Pebble, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going? It's Jesse here from the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast. I've got a special guest. His name is Nicholas. Nick, I know it's a little bit hard for me. I get a little bit of a tongue twister. But anyways, he is coming on to talk about a strategy, an offer strategy that I am honestly seeing or hearing more and more about, especially when I do calls with other teams of land investors who are interested in using Pebble, really starting to talk about cold calling. Cold calling is becoming a real strategy, and it is a performer. Like, it performs well. And so we're going to be talking to Nicholas. Nick, he runs a company called Lead Mining Pros, which really specializes in this. Nonetheless, I do want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by Pebble. And if you are interested in systemizing, in scaling, in getting everything up and running so you can actually get out of your own way, get operations and procedures in place, I am running a challenge. It's a 5-day challenge called the Dirt Hacker Challenge. You can see it on my shirt here. Head over to dirthackerchallenge.com. It is across 5 days where I work with you from scratch, where we hack away your old system and really start thinking about building a process, streamlining a process, and really getting systems and repeatable processes in place for you to buy back time, get somebody in place, and start leveraging yourself and putting yourself in position where you're running more of the strategic, more impactful things of your business. So you're not running in your business, you're running and working on your business. So if you're interested in that challenge, it is a 5-day challenge. It is called the Dirt Hacker Challenge. I run that once a month. Head over to dirthackerchallenge.com. Nonetheless, I hope you better get a pen ready for this episode, by the way. There is a lot. We already recorded. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of what he calls ninja tips that he shares on this podcast interview. Anyways, enjoy it. Cheers. All right. How's it going? Jesse here. I've got a special guest, Nick from Lead Mining Pros. How are you doing, Nick?
Doing good, Jesse. How about yourself?
Good. So do people call you by your last name, Nick?
Yeah, with the name like Nicholas Nick, I'm thankful if they call me at all.
Okay, awesome. Well, I brought Nicholas here on to talk to us really about a strategy I think that is becoming more and more prominent. It is something that I am hearing more and more land investors are doing, which is cold calling. And Nicholas, I mean, you've got a wealth of experience. That's what your company now focuses on. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you sort of come from?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, so I founded real estate about 9 years ago, and I had no idea what it was. I was a restaurant manager for 13 years back in the day, so I'm really good with leadership and numbers, right? Those are two things the restaurant industry really taught me. After I left that career, I ended up getting lucky, and I landed a job at a real estate education company that teaches people how to invest, mainly single-family houses. Okay, so I did that for about 3 years, and that was awesome. I ended up working my way up and becoming an executive, the director of fulfillment over the whole company. So whenever someone was brought in, it was my job to make sure that they got what we promised. And I really loved that job. And that actually led me to where I am today. Through our system of education, when we first started, we taught direct mail. That was our main educational foundation. Then, as we all know, especially in single family, direct mail started decreasing in response rate. The more we do it, the easier it is, then the harder it gets because everyone catches wind on how easy it got. Then our students, for lack of a better term, began to struggle. And direct mail has a cost, right? Because you got to pay the post office, you got to pay the government to mail something. And so I was racking my brain about what is free. And I ended up introducing the cell phone to the company. And for all the students, I was like, this is a completely free system. All you have to do is just do it. And it was really exciting. So for me, where all of my experience really came from is I entered the industry 9 years ago. I
Mm,
helped investors solve their problems for 3 years. And then after that, I really accidentally founded leadminingpros.com, which is my company today. And we specialize in lead generation, skip tracing, and cold calling. And one of the things we do in particular is I actually offer an American cold calling team, and a foreign one. So when you come to me, you can really like create your own adventure whenever you use us. And I think with land specifically, we've been learning that the Americans, they're so great because land is generally owned in rural areas by rural landowners.
sure,
If you know what I
sure,
mean.
sure. Yeah, and so and thank you for sharing that about where you came from and what you're up to now. And so as I mentioned, cold calling is a real thing. I'm meeting more and more people who are exploring cold calling, and it's so funny when I get to speak to somebody on the team that likes cold calling. They are like they love it. I think cold calling is one of those things you hate it or you love it. Am I correct? I get this feeling from people who love cold
Well,
calling.
I think the main thing about what allowed me to be so successful is you love it if you have a really superior mindset.
Mm,
And because it's hard to love people saying no, even if they're being nice and they're
right,
saying no, it's
right.
hard on your brain.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
would think it gets easier cold
Sure,
calling, but it
sure.
actually gets harder because when someone tells you no for 4 months, you're like, is it really no? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
start
yeah.
like getting brainwashed by all that. And so one thing I've learned is it really takes at my company for the Americans, we have to hire 5 people to get one to stay.
Mm,
So
mm.
if that kind of answers that question
Sure.
for you,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Okay. Well, let's say one of our listeners who are land investors here specifically, they want to start dabbling in cold calling themselves. A lot of us are solopreneurs, we're getting started. Can you sort of give us a framework of how should we approach cold calling?
Yeah.
What's the best way to go about it? Is there sort of a framework to go about it? What sort of a path should we take if we're gonna sort of
Yeah.
start dabbling into that world ourselves?
I love that. I love that. So first and foremost, you got to pick a simple system. Okay. If you're going to cold call yourself, don't put yourself in the weeds. Right. So I have a saying and it says, don't get in the weeds of the leads. Okay. And that is because now you're like, well, what list are we going to pull? What script are we going to use? What dialer are we going to use? Is it going to be complex? Are we going to learn it? And then learning all that stuff will really slow you down. So, my first and foremost is simplicity. Okay. Keep it simple. Don't learn, oh, it's this really complex advanced software. If you're brand new, you're not ready for the complex advanced software yet. And to let you know, if that's your case, I highly recommend Mojo Dialer. They have a very simple interface and it's just really easy to get started with. Like we use call tools, for example, and that's like using Photoshop, like you really got to know where all those damn buttons are.
Well, what's so special about a cold calling system? Is it just that it calls for you right away and you hang up, it calls the next number for you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so Mojo and Call Tools, these are both what they call power dialers, which means that they can dial from anywhere from 1 to 4 lines at a time. Now, that's going to lead me into my second piece of advice. Just because you do have a dialing software that can dial up to 10 lines at a time doesn't mean that's what you should do. So, one of the way these softwares work is they're like rolling at a certain speed. And if you're dialing 3 people at a time and all 3 answer,
Yeah.
then the system is going to hang up on 2.
Ah,
Okay? So we don't want that to happen. I always say, I don't want you to get annoyed leads. I want you to get happy leads.
right.
So what we do at Lead Mining, what I recommend you do is dial almost as slow as you can, but a little bit over 1. So we dial at 2 lines per per agent, which means that 2 calls are generally being made at a time, and it really lessens the effect where people get hung up on. We
Gotcha.
don't ramp it up at a super fast pace. We want to get as many leads as possible, not go through all of the dials, right?
Well, what about Nicholas? I mean, like, we're non-experienced cold callers here. I mean, is it wrong that we're just dialing one number at a time, would you say, and we don't have giant lists that we're calling?
No, I don't think it's wrong. Actually, if you're doing it yourself, I really recommend just pounding the phone to
Yeah,
start.
right,
One way that I take on all new ventures is week one, I do it as cheap and easy as humanly possible. If
right,
it doesn't resonate with me, I quit. Okay. If it does resonate with me, I go out and I buy the best, most expensive done for you system, right? So like I have jet skis, and I started off with literally the smallest jet ski, a Spark. And I was like, let me see if I like this. I was like, dude, this is a lot of fun.
right.
3 months later, I literally bought the most expensive jet ski on the market, and it's like, if it resonates with me, then to me, I green
Right.
light going in further. So I think using your cell phone,
Yeah,
hand dialing,
yeah,
and doing it that way
yeah,
is a great starter package.
yeah. So, okay, technology aside, when somebody picks up, they say hello. What are we supposed to say on that first few sentences? And we're nervous already.
Yeah.
Sweaty palms. Guide us through that. Walk us through what should we say?
So with land, there's a couple different things that can occur. So with the single family property, I'll just give you the line real quick. Hey, I'm sorry to bother. I'm looking for the owner of 123 Sycamore Street. Okay. Now we know land either is identified by acre or APN number.
Yep.
Okay. So with land, it's, hey, I'm sorry to bother. I was wondering, do you own the 3 acre piece of land in Galveston, Texas?
Right.
Right? Oh, yeah, I sure do. Awesome. Okay. So your first question to them is really to make sure you're talking to the right person. And I'll give
Hmm.
you a super ninja tip: never mention them by name. Hey, is this Brett? No. Click. Ah, crap. I just lost Brett.
Oh,
So leave
interesting.
the name out of it. Okay. A lot of people think, oh, well, they think they're building rapport, and you are if it's the right person. If it's the wrong person, which it probably is, and it's not that it's the wrong person, but it's the wrong name. So
Mm,
that our system, if we called everyone by their first name, we would be killing leads. But since we're asking for the owner, we're getting the wife, we're getting the son, we're getting the
mm,
husband, right?
mm,
It's not always that person. So always go after the property first. Do you own this property? That's number one. Number two is, well, have you ever maybe considered selling before?
mm,
Okay. Now you want ever in there. All right. And the reason why is you want to give them, no, no. Well, are you sure? Certainly sounds like you may have. So now, even if you get a no, you can still build rapport, go after them, and give yourself that hesitation lead, if you will.
right.
Okay. Then, if they actually say yes, yes, actually, I have considered selling. A lot of people say this. Yes, I have. How much do you want to offer?
Mm,
Okay. Now we hit them with the loop to loop there, and we say, well, look, we don't normally make an offer until we find out that you're interested. So if you have some time, I'd love to ask you some questions about the property.
mm.
All right. Now with land, it's real simple. My favorite thing about land, not a lot of emotions. Very few people are attached to a plot of grass like they are a house and a roof, and way less due diligence, right? I'm telling you things you already know, but we
Yeah,
service single family houses too. And I'm actually trying to push these guys to land. I'm like, look, it's way easier. They
right.
didn't love it. But so the land, we ask these, I think it's like 7 questions. Is there legal road access?
Mm,
Are there any utilities? Is it cleared or is it wooded? Um, why do you want to sell it? How much do you want to sell it for? And then my favorite question that Ron LeGrand gave me, the creative finance guy, Ron says that right after you ask them the price, ask them if they're open to receiving that total amount in monthly payments. Okay.
Oh,
So we want to give you as much information as possible. So now you're going to find out if the owner finance is on the table and everything
mm,
else. So our
gotcha.
last couple questions are, is there a better phone number for you? What's a good email? And I'm going to go ahead and review this. I'm going to chat with my partner. We'll give you a call in the next 24 hours. Is the script
Gotcha.
I recommend.
I know you're enjoying the show episode so far, but I wanted to let you know that if you are looking to build or scale a serious land business, perhaps a 6-figure second income or eventually a 7-figure land investing empire, Travis King's company, Land Investing Mastery, has the most current and innovative education in the space. Travis goes beyond the traditional microflip that you might be familiar with and shows you how to 10x your deal size and execute on strategies like subdividing, portfolio takedowns, land sniping. We're talking 6-figure per flip strategies. If you're getting your education from someone who isn't actively investing, you're more than likely going to hit some plateaus as you try to scale. If you want to learn how to avoid the saturated red ocean markets, skip over the small stuff, and learn how to become a boss land investor, then Travis is your guy. Travis has completed nearly 1,000 coaching calls in the last 2 years that I've known him, and he has his pulse on the market. He will tell you, though, Land Investing Mastery is not a factory. They're a boutique agency built on transformational, life-changing results. You see, I'm in a really unique position, and I really mean what I've just said above. In fact, I get to speak to a lot of investors from all sorts of different education, training, coaching background out there, and I get a very good view of things from all the one-on-one demo calls that I've done. Now, you may want some social proof. Head over to pebblerei.com/Travis and check out Travis's wall of love on his testimonial page. And while you're there, you can also learn more about Travis's training programs and his exclusive mastermind. So simply head over to www.pebblerei.com/Travis for more information. And this is sort of more or less qualifying the lead. This is what the whole point of this cold calling is. You're not trying to seal a deal here or anything like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, the one call close, man. That might exist, but if you strive for that, you're going to burn more leads than you close. You
Gotcha.
know, my honest opinion, Jesse, is that your first 2 calls, you don't even talk about price.
Mm,
Your goal is to get that person to fall in love with you. Your goal is to show them that you're not like every other person who's called them about their house. Like we're dating. And
yeah.
if you want to take this girl to prom, you better be on your best behavior.
Yeah.
And so this advice I give my clients, because I have a saying, and that is deals are given, they're not taken.
Mm,
So that seller, if they don't like you, they're not giving you the house. They
mm,
know, or the property, they know they're sitting on a deal. They know they're
right.
giving you 50 cents on the dollar, right? And they're only going to do that for someone that they like. So my number one advice is rapport over everything, get them to love you, and then you can talk about whatever you want.
I say this all the time, although real estate is a numbers game, it is also a people to people business here. And you just can't get around that. I had Sumner Healy on my show not too long ago, and they do a lot of talk time, and it's really important, I think, like you said, to have them fall in love with you and actually have an actual real conversation.
Right.
They are real people at the end of the day. Now, I want to rewind a little bit back to your script there.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I think it's, have you ever considered selling your land? Was that the question? What happens if they say no? What are you supposed to do with that? You're not gonna, you're just
I
gonna
love
drop it? Are you gonna somehow follow up with that? What's the plan with
I
that?
love that. So I have little simple rules. Like I said, I was a leader for a long time in the restaurant industry, and it's so hard to get those people not to smoke cigarettes, let alone actually work. Okay. And I loved it. I love those guys, but I learned all these little tricks. So one of my tricks are for every no should have one pushback, right?
Mm,
And not a heavy push, a light push. No, I'm not interested right now. Oh, I completely understand. But I would write this down. Anyone who's watching, write this line down. You're going to love it. I say, would you maybe mind taking down my direct phone number? And if
Mm,
anything ever changes, you can give me a call.
I love that.
And when you say maybe mind, you're literally trapping them. No, I don't mind. Okay. Yes, I'll take your number down. Okay. Like either I swear to you, because again, I'm a nerd, but when I use that line, they said yes over 50% of the time. Okay.
You guys heard it. I certainly hope you guys are taking notes here. I'm trying to squeeze Nicholas for as much as I can get him here, guys. So I hope you guys are taking notes. Okay, very cool. So let's say they aren't ready to they're not considering they took your number down. Are you ever going to follow up with them again?
So what I recommend for the clients is to generally not follow up with them again, if that makes sense, but to respect that phone number. So whatever phone number we gave them, I call that the bat phone.
Mm.
Okay. And anyone who's my age, I'm 37 years old or older, they know what the bat phone. They didn't even have. They called it the bat signal in
Yeah,
the new ones, but it used to be the bat phone.
that's
Okay.
right.
And that's funny. I just realized that. But anyways, and that's because you're going to want to be there. I had a client, that's a true story, get 0 leads on one of our campaigns. He bought one of the smaller ones. He got 0 leads. And he called me up and he goes, Nick, I closed a deal. And I said, well, how the hell did you close a deal with 0 leads? And he said, well, 2 weeks later, this guy called me and said, hey, this really nice woman called me 2 weeks ago and asked if I was ready to sell. I wasn't then, but I am now. And he said, Nick, I made $13,000 on that callback. And so not so much follow up with that lead, but make sure whatever number you give them, you honor that phone call. That's not, I would recommend if you have several marketing phone numbers, whatever number you give them is the one you answer every time.
Mm, mm,
Okay. So
yeah.
that's what I would recommend there. Now, when we're speaking to follow up, which is probably going to be your next question, I'll beat you to it. What are the best follow up practices? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's say we got a lead and
Yep.
it doesn't have a bow on it yet. They're not super ready. They want to sell in a month. Okay. Well, first thing is I recommend calling in half the amount of time that they say. So if
Mm,
they say a month, you call them in 2 weeks. Okay. And I also recommend not doing the text. Okay. Texting is a total cop out. All right. You do not want to be caught texting. You're going to be too scared to call if you get too comfortable texting. So I recommend calling. So you get a lead. All right. I'll run down. You get a lead sent over to you. I recommend calling within 20 minutes.
mm,
Immediately. You want to call within 20 minutes of getting them. And the reason why is they already are in the mood to pick up strangers' phone calls, or else they wouldn't have answered mine. Right. So you want to call them while they're in the mood. Hey, yeah, I know they're right there. They just got off the phone with my cold caller. So
right.
now you want to call them right away. I recommend being extremely pleasant. This is your time to really be the nicest person you've ever been to anybody. And I recommend asking questions that build rapport and get you the answers you need. For example, so how long has this piece of land been in your family for?
Right.
What were you planning on doing with it? Right? Like these questions, they're actually rapport builders, but they're still going to allow you to paint a picture. Okay. I don't really recommend talking about numbers right away.
Yeah.
I recommend get their story out. Once you get them talking, if they're not shutting up, you won. Okay. That's your goal. Get them excited, get them talking. Same way I'm
Right.
excited and talking right now. If you can get them where I'm at, you've won. And then once you get there, then we lead into price discussions and negotiations because now they like you. Before you're a stranger who, for all they know, is preying on them to get their land for a certain price. Once they like you, you're a good entrepreneur who's given great service up until this point, and now they're willing to talk to you about next steps with their property.
I love it, Nicholas. And I'm appreciating you being so tactical and explaining a lot of these what you're calling ninja tips. I've got one question here for you. How do you deliver the price? How are you supposed to say it? Like, they just gave you their story. So would you be willing to let it go for X amount? How do you deliver it?
So I have a 3 series question that I like to ask before, and let me see if I can remember them. I used to call them the 3 most important questions. Okay, and I believe the first one is, what do you want to do with the money? Okay. And then the next question is, how much money is it going to take to do what you just said? So I'll give you an example. I had a guy who wanted to sell me his house for $45,000. And the way he came up with that price is because he had a family of 5 and they lived in New York, and he wanted to come to Disney World for 2 weeks. Okay. And he's like, I think it's going to cost me $45,000 to take my whole family down to Disney World and do whatever we want for 2 weeks. Okay. This is a true story. And I said, okay, so if I can get $45,000 profit in your pocket, then you will make this deal. Yeah. So my favorite strategy is to do that. And what I just explained was reverse constructing the offer. Okay. You're going to get there. I want the new truck. How much is the new truck? It's 50 G's. Okay. So how much do you owe on the piece of land? I owe 30 G's. Okay. So you're saying if I put 80 G's in your pocket, that you will give me the land, because that covers the debt and pays for the truck. Okay. Let's say the land's worth 130. This guy's no longer thinking about the offer he's not getting. He's thinking about his new truck, his new toy. And so I like to get the owners thinking about what's next. Now, that's one way to do it. The other way, so the guy that trained me was a New York stockbroker, and he had some super ninja tips and tricks. One of the things he did was he pretended like his mother-in-law is the investor. Okay, this is a really good strategy, okay? Because the relationship with the mother-in-law is never good anyways, right? So he would call her up and he's like, hey, what's up? My name's Chris. My mother-in-law's Judy. She owns the investment company, and Judy said that we could do $40,000 on this property. Okay. And then if they were insulted or whatever happened, he would go, look, she's tough. Let me just tell you, Judy's tough. Okay. But I'm going to go back to her. I'm going to tell her what you said, and I'm going to see if we can do any more here. And I really, really like the fictitious mother-in-law strategy.
Right.
If I could.
I'm assuming then it's because they don't get angry at you. They don't have that bad relationship with you. Right. It's directed to somebody else. So you still maintain that good.
Yeah, you're almost the savior here.
That's right.
Hey, look, let me talk to her. Can I put you on hold?
Yeah.
Let me go. She just walked in, and then, and I really like that strategy. And that's a great way for low offers. And sometimes he would preface it with saying, look, I don't want to insult you with my offer. If you just want to give me a number that works for you, we could start there, so that was some cool tactics.
I love that. Nicholas, clearly, calling and cold calling is not only does it take mental willingness, but it takes time. Typically, I think it's a great idea to give it a shot yourself, those that are listening, but perhaps when you're looking to actually scale this up, you really have only 2 options. It's either you bring on somebody who's dedicated to your team, or I'm assuming here, and I'll be upfront here, I was a little bit embarrassed because I had the wrong show notes in front of me, but they I got the wrong company here in place, but they can work with you, Nicholas, over at your company, Lead Mining Pros. Give us a little gist of how can some of our land investors interact with you guys, and if they want to dabble into maybe they only want to do this for their more pricier properties. How can we engage with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is leadminingpros.com, and my cell phone number is actually directly on the website as well. So I'll just point that out. So if anyone goes there and they're
A bat phone.
overwhelmed, dude, I have my own bat phone. It's already red too, so it doesn't have to flash red. And so my cell phone number is on there, and I share that to say that I'm very available for my clients. You can also book a call with me. But our products are really simple. We offer 4 main products: list pulling. If you guys need lists of land, we can pull those. Skip tracing, which is getting a phone number. If you have a name and an address, we can get a phone number. And then we offer cold calling and text messaging. My most popular package is what I call all-inclusive packages, where we literally do all that for one low price. And when I say low price, our packages start at $300 and they go up to $1,300, and everything is no contracts, no commitments, no setup fees. So you could hire me just to see how cold calling works for you, and then not feel, oh, I got to make a commitment, or even worse, take on overhead, right? I think the biggest killer in business is overhead, which is exactly why I created this business. We're like an overhead component that you can plug in and unplug whenever you want to. And I just love that.
So could somebody come to you with a list? I pulled my list from DataTree. Could I be like, hey, Nicholas, can you guys cold call these people before I mail them? Could we do something like that with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad you asked. So even though I mentioned that we have all those services, I don't make my clients use my services at all. So I actually prefer, and I know that DataTree and Priced are amazing resources. And we have a bunch of land guys that use us. Joe McCall uses us. Travis King uses us. And they bring their stuff from Priced. And I actually love it when my clients have their own list that they trust.
Got you. Well, listen, Nicholas, I appreciate you coming on here. I hope you guys were all taking notes. I encourage you guys to start exploring this path. As I mentioned, I am starting to hear more and more as of recently, people exploring cold calling, and it seems to be it seems to be doing well, to say the least. So I think Nicholas is going to be the expert in that area. I'll let you guys reach out to him. I'm going to leave the link in the show notes. I encourage you guys to rewind this, take notes as you need to. You guys may want to take some of those tactics, maybe for some of your follow-up calls or your actual cold callings. Nicholas, I really appreciate you coming on here, sharing your ninja tips here, and coming on the show here. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, take care. Bye. Before you stop this episode or hit the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast by Pebble. If you found this helpful, we greatly appreciate any awesome reviews and ratings on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast or the specific episode that may help them on their land investing journey. Once again, thanks so much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.